y'all doing? How you doing? How you doing? Let me adjust my cameras and so forth and so on. I wanted to get a little bit more. Is that yeah? That's a little bit better. I think that's a little bit better. Hey YouTube, how y'all doing? So I'm gonna just say this. No, I wasn't a bully in high school. There's some people I wish I would have beat up, but there was a guy now. Went to school with us, Eugene. Eugene Jackson. Eugene was the only guy that was probably smart enough in the future business leaders of America to take a typing class. Back then, guys were too cool to take typing. So I bet Eugene's typing about 60, 70 words a minute. So anybody from the mighty GWC, home of the Carver Rams, shout out from my high school. If anybody runs into Eugene, tell him I say hello, and I kind of apologize for picking on him so much in high school. No, I'm not. I wasn't. I really wasn't a bullet, but I've always had jokes, folks. So yeah, anybody that knew me was fair game to my jokes. So that's just how it is. How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's had a fruitful, productive week thus far. As for myself, I'm hanging in there, people. I'm hanging in there. I'm ignoring some people I went to high school with because they just don't know how to behave. I'm not giving you a shout out, but this crazy woman, I met her. She was, this little skinny girl with a big mouth. And the first words out of her mouth was, "Hey, big head." And, now we're in our 60s and she's still calling me, "Hey, big head." I think she's about 5 years older than me, though. Anyway, how's everybody doing? Killing a little time, giving people a chance to come online and see, hey, what's going on? Okay. Just checking on my YouTube peoples as well. I got all of my stuff set up here. Right on, right on. No, Eugene was not getting the girls in typing class. I promise you. Eugene tried to be cool somewhere. Eugene was, we used to tease him about being a mama's boy. Now, let me just put it out there. I was a mama's boy, but nobody knew I was a mama's boy. I was a nerd, but nobody knew how smart I was because I was also a musician and I had athletic ability. So I could hang out with jocks and I could hang out with the musicians and I could hang out with the artists. So you name a club and I was probably in it for a minute. You know what I mean? Everything from writing for the school newspaper to art and science biology class. So all of us were in a college prep program, and Eugene wound up being salutatorian. So Eugene was very smart, but Eugene dressed in a trench coat and carried an umbrella. So he got. I wasn't the only one picking on, and actually, I used to pick on Eugene to save him from other people. You know what I mean? So I ran interference. That's the story I'm telling, and I'm sticking to it. So no, he didn't get the girls. I got my share of them though. I was really shy. Nobody believes it, but I was really shy my freshman year. Um, but I learned how to use my sense of humor and to kind of get me over. So I see we ready. Facebook, how we doing? You guys hear me? Wall to wall, treetop tower. Give me some heads up. Give me some heads up. Let me see some thumbs. Let me see some thumbs. Okay. Okay. YouTube, where we at? How we doing? Yeah. Pinky, where you at? Folks, I'm in a good mood. I don't know why, but I'm in a good mood. If I'm manic depressive, I'm definitely manic today. I've just been excited about doing this show, because things are really starting to turn around. Though I didn't plan on talking about COVID tonight, I'll just put it out there that the numbers are looking pretty good. They're saying, I heard this briefly on NPR today, that the numbers are down about 27%. So, there is light at the end of the tunnel and a silver lining. That doesn't mean that you guys go out and have a party, especially if I'm not invited. But let's just hold off just a little bit longer. They talked about, Biden also talked about getting 200 million more vaccines. So he's looking like there's going to be enough vaccine for everybody no later than May, which is really good. May. So maybe we can put COVID in our rearview mirror. Finally, finally, finally. Let's all say a prayer and literally look alive from there. I'm gonna say good evening and welcome to the show. Thank you for spending your Thursday nights with me. You guys know, as cocky as I may be, it really humbles me that you guys choose to spend your Thursday nights with me. So I got a question. Is it still Black History Month? I can't remember because everything has been overshadowed by Trump's second impeachment trial. How many ways can you say bullshit? Yeah, that's not enough. Anyway, it's been some compelling evidence when I saw some of the police footage and I heard some of the police calls asking for additional backup and them being flanked. Being in the military, it just means that the enemy has gotten behind you, so there's no one to watch your six or your back. You're basically being surrounded by enemy combatants, and that's what they were. Make no bones about it. They were enemy combatants. Listening to some of that stuff, it made me so mad that all I could do was laugh. When you get so mad, you have this maniacal laugh that emanates from your very being. It's scary even to me. But we know, it's been said 1,000 times, if this is not an impeachable offense, then what is? But we know so many people are either scared of or they've linked their careers to this despot, this despicable, delusional guy who's here in Florida, that they're so far down the rabbit hole they can't find a way out. So with that being said, I'm going to get on. My name is Hank Batiste, alias the Renaissance Man, a.k.a. Rennie for short. You guys know who I am, but if it's your first time tuning in, that's me. I'm your host. Tonight, the voices in my head are totally incensed. My show is called I've Got Something to Say, so it must be true. The last 3 weeks, I want to apologize to my audience as a whole, but I especially want to apologize to my Facebook listeners and followers because through no fault of my own, my show has been thrust into this black hole. As my viewership increases, as my message becomes more appealing to the masses, it makes me more of a threat. Now, I don't do this, and I don't try to be an alarmist or, that's not my style. When I started doing this, I said I wanted to do it the way Walter Cronkite did it. And I try to take my emotions out of it, but I'm enthusiastic about what I do. So sometimes my emotions do seep into the message. But I wanted to do this void of the sensationalism. But believe me when I say 1 week my show is being programmed and I have no sound. Now, mind you, I've been doing this show for almost 2 years now, so I'm a little bit better versed on how to do the show, especially when it comes to something as simple as going live on Facebook. So I've had shows with no sound. I've had a show where I usually turn the cameras so that you can get a wide view of me on Facebook, similar to that of YouTube. And when I tried doing that, for whatever reason, it didn't translate through Facebook. So I wind up having to the first 4 minutes, and it's all been just to turn you guys off so you tune out. I've been averaging on Facebook about 60 to 70 people while I'm live. And I know some of you guys are even doing um, watch shows of my show, and that I appreciate. But I don't know how much longer. And I hate to sound like everybody on Facebook, but now I'm starting to think they have more truth to their message. I don't know how much longer they're going to not mess up my show the way they've been doing. But I'm looking at growing the show. I'm looking at taking the show on to bigger and better things. But I want to stay with my base. I don't want to lose my base either in Facebook. I want you guys to come to YouTube simply because YouTube has invited me with open arms, and they've been doing little things to help me out. They've been putting some of my shows in rotation with other people just to get feedback to see if it's just if my message appeals to a wider audience, and I've been getting positive feedback on that. So I feel good about that. Enough of the digression. So let me get back. Do I feel that this impeachment trial was a huge, an enormous waste of money? And I also feel like the resources could have been better spent on COVID relief. I understand that this trial was more for the middle of the road Republicans, those folks that have not only common sense, but still have a moral compass that points north. These are the people that are going to, within the party, take down Trump and stop supporting the people that support this despot, this despicable, delusional person who feeds off of chaos. Those middle of the road people are those that I call they're more morally centered, and they want the party to be more than a party of hateful rhetoric and radicalized terrorists. Tonight we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about the power of words and white privilege. We've seen a concerted effort to water down the rhetoric. We've seen them changing the narratives. Dems, on the other hand, have been convinced that somehow this is going to diffuse the radicals by watering down the rhetoric, by putting the spin and kind of discounting that. But I feel like the Dems are afraid of going too far. I feel like they're not going far enough. By discounting what has happened, I feel that it emboldens these radicalized terrorists who feel that their white privilege entitles them to break the laws at will. So tonight we're going to talk about white privilege. We're going to talk about no remorse. We're going to talk about the disparity of political jargon and the spin of the narrative. Tonight's show is simply called White Privilege, No Remorse. You call them patriots, but I can't take a knee. I got something to say. It must be true because they're trying to shut me up now. So let's omit the logic and do this. White privilege. To those who say it doesn't exist, to those who say there's no such thing as white privilege, when you're white, let me remind you, when you're white, you get more latitude to break the law. You assume that you will not be prosecuted, or if you are prosecuted, it won't be as severe and certainly not life-threatening. When you are white, you're called an insurrectionist. You're called an insurgent. Your actions are called patriotic. You're not called a thug. When you're black, when you're Hispanic, when you're Muslim, or any other ethnic group, you're a thug, you're a criminal, you're unpatriotic. And often, more often than not, it's the same radicalized white privileged ones who says, if you don't like America, just leave. Go back to wherever you came from. My ancestors has been here just as long as yours. Because remember, you brought me here. Well, let me take that back. I've got two types of Indian in me, Blackfoot and Choctaw. So some of my ancestors were here before the Mayflower. How about that? So maybe you should go back. Let me go. Sensationalism, let me take it out. When you're white, you can openly belong to a radical subversive organization, just like the woman I call Maladjusted Mallory. You know that the organizations are radical. You know that you could say or do whatever and there's no consequence. I refuse to say to organizations because I'm not going to give them oxygen on my show. When you're white, nepotism is okay. You can hire your family, you can hire your children, you can hire whomsoever you feel like hiring, even if they're unqualified or they can't pass a background check. When you're white, you can openly carry assault weapons to the T. You can have a shotgun here. You can have a long rifle, M4 or AR-15. You can have a 45 on one hip, a 9 in the vest, and a 40 on the other hip, and have clips galore and walk the street openly and not worry about going home safely at the end of the night. You'd have no fear of losing your life. You can be belligerent with the police while so armed, with no fear of losing your life or returning home safely. Though I can go on and on and on, let me just wrap this white privilege up. When you're white, you can participate in the coup d'etat, be released, and go to Mexico on a vacation. Moving on. White privilege has no remorse, no apologies. Of all the things associated with white privilege, you feel no need to feel remorse. You feel justified in whatever you do. You can say, kill all those who do not bow to me, my will, and believe as I believe. You can preach eradicating all those who do not capitulate. Eradicate those who do not capitulate, those who do not take a knee. This is the only time they allow you to take a knee. Be they black, be they Hispanic, be they Jew, Muslim, or other white people. You can say, give them a bullet in the brain and still run for Congress. I said what I said, no apologies, no remorse. When you're white, the pain is everlasting. When you're white, no apologies. You feel when you're wronged by any other entity, the theme is never forget. You can watch a failed coup d'etat. Now, you guys, even if you didn't watch minute by minute of the impeachment trials, I'm sure, unless you've been in a cave under a rock, you've seen videos of those 20 to 30,000 people who assaulted the U.S. Capitol. You saw these new videos, these security videos. You've heard the footage of these cops being overrun, the U.S. Capitol Police being overrun and calling for help and backup and so forth and so on. White privilege don't feel appalled. They don't feel anything. White privilege is being a congressman. You can be appalled on the day of. You can condemn the act and then you can change your mind. You can say that shameless acts not only feeds those in power, it feeds your blind ambitions. So this is what you're saying with your actions. Though you may not voice it, it's obvious because Stevie Wonder, Jose Feliciano could see that this is okay. I promise you. To hell with the inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These shameless acts protect you because of your white privilege. You call them patriot. Because you call them patriot, the coup d'etat continues. Only in a congressional trial can jurors calling themselves congressmen, senators, and representatives meet with the defense attorneys in private. Only in a congressional impeachment trial can said jurors publicly voice their bias at the onset at the trial without fear of being removed or replaced, or their vote not being counted. Only in a Senate impeachment trial can it be known that the defendant is intimidating the jurors. It's not sensational. It's ludicrous that this goes on. Only in a Senate impeachment trial are the co-conspirators actually deciding the fate of the defendant. Their co-conspirator is the defendant. So when your name is Kevin McCarthy, Tom Cruise, Ted Cruz, he really thinks he's a superstar. It's the arrogance. You know, you knew what was going to happen. When you saw what was unfolding, you were so incensed that you decided that you couldn't be a part of this conspiracy. But when you realize that you knew what was going to take place before it took place, therefore you were an accessory before the fact, now you change your tune. Or you Lindsey Graham, a jellyfish, no spine. You call them patriots because their white privilege protects them. You use words to discount domestic terrorists. You use words that the media's program and minimize domestic terrorism by downgrading the coup d'etat and first calling it an insurrection. Then you systematically downgrade insurrection to insurgents. By doing so, you legitimize the terrorists. You give power to the delusional entity that radicalized these so-called American patriots and incited the terrorists in these riotous acts of coup. You capitulate to the acts of terror by saying, we just want to make a point and get past this. So, Dems, I know you want to not incense people. I know that there's still some fear that these folks may come back. But I think if you send a stronger message, you stand more of a chance of putting fear in them instead of capitulating to your fear of them. This coup d'etat continues because although you made 400 or so arrests, and I'm just throwing that number out there, there's no consequences for the conspirators or the co-conspirators at the top of the food chain. There's no consequence. 400 of 30,000 murderous terrorists. So make no bones about it. Had they gotten their hands on Nancy Pelosi, had they gotten their hands on Mike Pence, had they gotten their hands on, oh my God, what's the name? ROC, so many people, there would have been more than just Officer Brian Sicknick killed that day. So I submit to you, call it what it is. Call it a coup d'etat. Otherwise, the coup continues. Meanwhile, you erect fences around the nation's capital, just like those ineffective fences that Despicable Donnie put on the Mexican border. If they want to get through, they're going to get through. Moving on. Meanwhile, folks, with all of this going on, with these folks who can at will go there, try to take over the Capitol. Oh, I'm sorry, took over the Capitol, tried to take over the government. Meanwhile, we've got National Guardsmen who are walking the post around the Capitol for an undetermined time to protect us from domestic terrorists. We're not talking about Al Qaeda. We're not talking about ISIS. We're talking about people who are supposed to be Americans. We're talking about people that you refer to as patriots. If there's such patriots, why do we need to be protected from them? Why are you afraid of them storming the Capitol again? Meanwhile, more importantly, I'm still Black in America. I still fear exercising my constitutional rights to carry a weapon. I'm a former Marine. I'm more versed in the use of deadly force than them nutcases out there who have an arsenal bigger than the base armory at Camp Pendleton. But I'm the one who's afraid, who's petrified of carrying my weapon to protect myself. Meanwhile, I'm still trying to make sure that me, my sons, my grandsons, your sons, your sons, your sons, your sons, and your grandsons collectively will make it home safely, whether they're armed or unarmed, so they're not accosted, so that they can make it home safely day in and day out every day. Meanwhile, I still wonder if I am a target because my show is becoming popular. So now, as quiet as it's kept, I look over my shoulder because remember, I live in Florida. I'm about 2 hours away from where delusional, despicable Donnie lives. Meanwhile, at the end of the day, I don't want to overthrow the government. Let's make it clear. If you threaten me, pack a lunch. I will defend myself with extreme prejudice. And you might get me, but I won't be the only one going down. I promise you that. Martin Luther King said, an eye for an eye leaves everybody blind. I'll be damned if I'll be the only one walking with an eye dog. I do not advocate a bullet in the brain to my enemies. But if you threaten me, I'm going to stand my ground. I just want to remind America, as I said before, treat us with the same respect and latitude that you treated that 30,000 murderous terrorists that invaded the Capitol, the United States Capitol. If you extend to me and mine, my sons and my grandsons, and your son and your son and your son and your grandson, the same respect, the same latitude that you extended to those murderous terrorists In a failed coup d'etat, we don't have to worry about police reform because I know at the end of the day, when it's 6 o'clock and you say that there's a curfew, even if I'm arrested, it's going to be non-violently. I'm going to make it home. Chances are 90% of them were released on their own recognizance. If I'm arrested, I promise you, it's going to be about a $3,000 bail or something. Why? Because I'm black, I'm 6 feet tall, I'm about 272 pounds. You spell me, Threat, threat. So I'm going to raise my hands up. I'm going to interlock my hands. I'm going to get down on my knees, not because I'm capitulating, because I'm smarter than the average bear, boo-boo, and I want to make it home. So I can charge your ass with an illegal arrest tomorrow and be there to talk about it. I just want to remind America that Black Lives Matter, my life matters. Meanwhile, I can't take a knee and not be vilified. Folks, I'm make it short and sweet tonight. I'm watching this stuff and I'm so proud of all of this, but I'm gonna be honest with you. Abby and the other girls, I don't see Van anymore. I think there need to be more black men up on that panel, you know? So it is what it is. That's all I got for you tonight. Remember, don't be so afraid to die that you forget to live for a purpose. Remember what I always tell you, you heard it here first. So when you hear Chris Cuomo, when you hear anybody call it a coup, when you hear what some of the things I said, remember you heard it here first. So go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, click the bell. It's supposed to let you know every time I'm going live on YouTube. But if not, come hell or high water, I'm going to be here every Thursday. Every Thursday. My name is Hank Batiste, alias the Renaissance Man, also known as Rudy to those people in high school and Rennie to the people on Facebook. I'm your host. I got something to say. It must be true because now they're trying to shut my black ass up. So omit the logic. I'll see you here next week. Same Batiste time, same Batiste place. Is always important. Love, peace. Like your man, hair grease. People, I'm out of here. Be safe. Continue to wear your mask. And let's keep these numbers going down. Take care of you and yours. And we'll meet on the flip side. Rebound. Later, people. Well, here we go. Gotta make sure that the eyebrows, how they used to